Doom, boom. Tweet. Here we are. Gonna wait for Buck to get here in a second. Hope you're all having a fun weekend. I am having a very fun weekend. And hope the audio and video is looking fine. And Buck will be here in a second. I'm just texted with him, drinking my Kool-Aid. Whew. It's going to be a good week, I feel. Or else. Where's Buckles? God, damn, this Elon Musk stuff, even though it's just a tweet and then Ivanka jumping in, I don't think Ivanka, well, I don't know. When you're at that level of government, you have to be kind of red-pilled, right? Because you're seeing it from the other side of the camera. So I don't know what's going on there. 100 people here already. Wow, that's pretty good. Oh shit, I don't know how to talk anymore. I forgot what I'm going to say. Oh no, I'm so nervous. Check my Insta. Michael, it's good to see your face today, not this face. I was delighted to see on Insta, there he is, that we will be overthrowing the government together. Fact, here he is at the stream. Hey, Buck!
What's up, man? How are you?
Say hi to all the dopes, dummies, and midwits and cretins.
Is that like a term you use with affection for them, or are we going to get angry text messages and emails now?
Oh no, there's no anger here. I'm a hardcore blocker. People know how to behave.
Oh my god, I've realized recently that that using the mute button as prophylaxis instead of punishment is very important on Twitter. Like, well, if you just have any doubt, you got to mute somebody. You don't wait till they actually upset you. I don't like to block them because then they know.
The reason I feel blocking is important is because they tend to drive away quality people in your audience, because they create this air of noxiousness, and they will often go after people that are fans of yours, maybe who are asking you an innocent question, maybe they're ignorant, they're new to politics, and then they're going to get hit and called just the most offensive things gratuitously. And I think it's very important for us who have some semblance of an audience to take responsibility for what kind of space we are creating.
I actually never thought about the that whole thing you talked about, so I'd have to say I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna start blocking people like a maniac. But yeah, the thing is, I'll mute people that I like, but I just don't like their takes. That's a different thing. You know, I'll mute people that I think are cool, but I just don't want to hear what they have to say.
So. Who's someone you've muted?
Oh, my mute list is huge. I can't even, it's huge. I would have no friends left if people found out how many people on Twitter I've muted. Like, nobody would ever talk to me again. Like, I think I follow, I don't know, 1,300 people on Twitter. I think 100 of them actually have tweets that pop up into my. You're one of the ones, though. I will tell you, I do see your tweets. So
yeah, like
not a lot.
Junior follows me, and Devin Nunes follows me. And there's some other, and they never interact, and I'm like, am I muted? But I'll never know. You okay?
It's fine. No, it's fine. I'm like, my girlfriend's here, and she's like, you can use the microwave, honey. It's just Mike Malice. We're just hanging out. It's fine. She's like, there we go. Yeah.
We got 200 people here.
No one's ever. She hasn't made an appearance in any social media or anything. So we might like have her sneak in for a second. I'll definitely have the dog make an appearance. She's adorable.
Please do.
Yeah. Well, we're feeding her right now, so let me feed her, and then I'll bring her over. She's adorable. She's so fun. She has this little tooth that you'll see that, like, we don't know how it happened, but in the last couple of years, she has one tooth that sticks, like, directly out like a shark. So it's a French bulldog. She's great. Yeah, no, she's a lot of fun. I've been talking to, we codenamed her Snow Princess. That's the girlfriend. Hey, honey. I've been talking about how I want to get a Frenchie, I think, because this is my parents. So they don't want to get out in New York and be because remember, in New York, it's like, in the elevator. I mean, you know this, but for people listening, like quarantine at home. I mean, if you're leaving at all, you're going in an elevator with like 100 other people coming into it. Delivery people are coming in and out of the building still. So they're on lockdown. Like they don't leave basically.
Yeah.
I mean, they just left for the first time in the last couple of weeks, but they really don't go outside. So I took the dog because I go out all the time. I don't worry about it.
How are you dealing with this quarantine as a New Yorker? Because I got together with my crew. Oh, there's an echo from Sean. Should I put my headphones on? I'll turn this down, I think. Team Buck is dying to find out who Buck is dating.
Team Buck is dying to find out who Buck is dating, honey. I don't know. I'm either she's waving me off. She's not. She's like not ready for the kiss.
Because what happened to her? She vanished.
The Snow Princess likes to be mysterious. Although we do have the all-white Frenchie that will make she'll make an appearance in a few seconds. We'll see. We'll see how much the Snow Princess decides to show.
Why Snow Princess? Is she Swedish?
No, she's from Buffalo.
Oh, Buffalo.
Which is a very snowy place. If you don't know that. Yeah,
it's like
Buffalo's a fun. It's a fun area.
It's the Paris of New York.
It is. Mike is a Buffalo fan, honey.
Yeah.
Mike is also an anarchist, so we have an anarchist friend. Yeah, it's like there's not that many of those running around.
There you go.
What? It's okay. No, I'm not an anarchist. Anarchy in the Law. He's got some great books. So on the Twitter follow thing, I baited because Ted Cruz follows me, Malice. We could talk about fun Twitter follows.
And we got this too. This is more up your alley.
Oh, nice. The Iron Lady. That's what I'm talking about. So I made a comment about Ted Cruz's beard, and that broke down the Twitter wall. And so now he responded, and now he'll actually. So I know he's seeing him. But the beard looks great. I mean, his beard is a huge. I think the Rand Paul beard is great too. I mean, they came after me, so I'm not saying I set the trend because other people did. But
I feel. Wait, how do I reset this camera? I'm such a boomer. Wait,
I don't know. Your thing is a little fuzzy right now.
Because I held the book up, and now we're boomers not knowing how to fix the fucking camera. One of the how do I? I wonder if there's some way. Camera, mic, Logitech. Okay, we'll figure it out. Or not. I'll be blurry. I feel like Rand Paul. You saw that hearing at the Senate when it was Rand Paul and Dr. Fauci on the TV. It looked so Hunger Games to me because it was like this empty room and there's a screen and the guy's like the last survivor because he's unkempt. And it was like, okay, I always thought Rand Paul had a toupee and now we know he doesn't. But it just seems so dystopian.
Yeah, I've never understood why people thought it like toupees don't look like that. I mean, people accuse me of having a toupee all the time. I mean, now I'm in full Chewbacca. But honey, she's actually going to cut my hair. So we've been talking about this. But Rand Paul, no one has a toupee like that. Like that's not there's a very specific kind of look that you get from a toupee. But anyway,
Patrick Duffy has a toupee like Rand Paul.
Who is Patrick Duffy?
From Dallas actor, and also Step by Step.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who that guy is, but I'll have to check it out. But by the way, you've been keeping it very shorn, and I haven't even answered your quarantine question yet. I want to get to that. So how can we see? Are there people like writing comments and stuff? I've never used this.
So if the new right is fundamentally anti-democratic and also hates progressives and elitist experts, then what kind of government are they striving for? Well, if you'd read the book, Christian, you would know that they have no consensus about anything. The only thing they have in common is what they are opposed to. And as to what kind of government I'm striving for, it's this, 0. Buck wants a constitutional republic.
I try, yeah. I mean, these days it feels like that's more of a pipe dream than ever. I mean, I'm amazed at how quickly everybody went from give me liberty or give me death to, oh, just kidding, unless there's a virus that we tell you is going to kill a lot more people than it actually does. And then when you're like, hey, wait a second, when do we get to go back to our lives? You're like, never. Deal with it.
And we're going to complain that the economy is doing badly.
I mean, this is so monumentally insane. I mean, I'm here in New York too, and it's like there's like the mask virtue signaling. I'm just waiting for someone because people give me weird looks. I'm like, okay, let's just do a quick review, folks. And this is getting into your question about how I'm doing in quarantine. I mean, the good news is, got a girlfriend, got a French bulldog, my family's nearby. So all things considered, I mean, I'm lucky. I feel kind of blessed, although right now the situation in general is obviously horrific. But the mask thing, I mean, we all know the WHO was like, masks don't work. And then they're like, masks are needed for frontline workers. And now it's like, if you go outside without a mask on, people look at you funny. the chance of you getting, the chance of you being able to, if someone else expelling and you taking in, okay, yeah, here we go,
Oh,
Piggy
yes.
Seal, Piggy Seal. Oh, the baby! Oh, there she is. Snow Princess made an appearance.
Oh my God, what is that monster?
It's the most beautiful animal you have ever seen.
Oh my
Thank you,
God.
honey, for feeding him.
Oh my
The
God.
most beautiful animal. Look at her. Look at this. Look at the.
This is the
Do you
face
see
of
the tooth?
Yes.
Do you see the tooth? Oh, she's licking the
like,
finger.
oh,
Ah,
sweetie.
tickles.
Oh.
She's the best.
Does she make?
So
Does she snore loudly?
oh my God, we call her Piggy because she makes little piggy noises all night, all the time. She just ate. We only give her fresh chicken.
Okay.
And sometimes I'll actually cook hamburger meat for her, like just for her. And if
Okay.
I don't do it,
She looks like Sartre.
yeah. If I don't do it perfectly, I actually let Snow Princess do it, because if I don't do it perfectly, she'll headbutt the bowl and reject the food. Like, no, too much dry, not enough chicken. She always does it perfectly, so I just let her like run it now when she's around. But otherwise, I have to be very careful, because she's the only dog I've ever seen who wants to eat constantly, but you have to give her exactly the food she wants, or else she'll make you feel bad about it. Yeah. She's super quiet. She doesn't bark at all. I don't know if I've heard her bark.
They make these weird noises, Frenchies, because their palates.
She kind of like yodel. Yeah, that's right. That's what she does. He knows about her little. So when she wants to get up on the couch, she goes.
Yeah.
And that means it's time to come up on the couch. So yeah, she's great though.
So
she's
Shauna
really
is
fun.
saying, I just found out today that anarcho-nationalism and anarcho-Christianity is a thing. There's 31 flavors of anarchy. Oh, absolutely. Anarchy comes in all colors as long as it's black, just like the Model T. Michael, why don't you grow a quarantine beard like the rest of us? Join us. Because I went down a shaving soap rabbit hole, and I have 200 shaving soaps in my house and 11 shaving brushes. And I'm about to get, don't tell anyone, I'm having made for me a shaving razor made out of a whale's tooth. I currently have a hippo's tooth, so I have to shave.
So I'm going to tell you something. First of all, I went down that rabbit hole. I have a friend who owns a like high-end shaving brand. They make $300 razors, okay? Like, which I don't even know where else you get that. No,
I'm just curious, like, because you're a lot more basic than me, so I feel like this is going to be a brand that is.
It's not that well known. Okay. It's not that well known. Yeah. So they're more of like a startup. That's why I'm kind of like, I don't want to. And I always like my brother has a startup, for example, that does food, and they're amazing. But like, I'm always a little bit, because I just never want any of the blowback, any association with me, which is also why we have codename Snow Princess, because I don't want like all the trolls going on her. People are such savages. Like, I've had people go on my Instagram after they'd see me go on Fox or something and say mean things about my siblings. And I'm just, that used to enrage me. And now I'm just like, wait, but so sad.
How are you not blocking those people? What if your siblings see it? They don't deserve to see
that.
No,
I block on Instagram for sure. Okay. No, of course. No. Instagram, I'm fierce. On Twitter, though, what I meant with the mute, I block people that say like horrific stuff. Yeah. With the mute, it's like, you were on my show and followed me, so like I'll follow you back. But like, I don't really need to see, that's where the mute buttons really comes in.
I got a real question for you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, sure.
Something, because you worked with the CIA, correct?
Yeah, of course. I worked with the CIA.
And I want to hear your response. I had dinner with a former CIA operative, and he was telling me how it's illegal, right, for if I work for the CIA to spy in like my ex-girlfriend's Gmail. But what I can do is I'll ask my contact in France to look it up and have the contact send it to me. And this is a workaround. I'm not saying you do this at all, but he was saying that like this happens all the time. And he's saying that like this shows this agency is in need of reform. Now, for me, with my Soviet background, I'm not hearing reform when I hear people are doing things like this. I'm thinking really bad consequences. Like, what is your reaction to stuff like that?
Well, I mean, it's technically, I think it's illegal for you inside the community, and whether anyone cares. She's going to fall asleep, by the way. Whether anyone cares, I know. You're not allowed to have anyone do something as a third party that would be illegal for you to do. I think that's the general rule. So you can't task someone else to do something it would be illegal for you to do. As a general rule now. I mean, but I'm talking things like, stuff like that. I mean, obviously there are going to be exceptions to this. So like, for example, you can't be like, well, like, I didn't like have that foreign dictator assassinated. Like, I paid some other dude to do, like you can't do that. So I don't know about that sort of third party target. And the other thing is, man, I'll be honest with you, since it's like Sunday night, we're all chilling out. Like I've been out now for almost 10 years. So I know how it works, meaning like I know how the bureaucracy goes and I know like the quality and the type of people. So I understand the culture there. And I had some cool stories from Iraq stuff back in the day. But I mean, you know, for all I know, they could have snow cone makers in every hallway and, you know, celebrating everyone's birthday all the time and all that other corporate crap that people do now. So
I
don't know.
Think as a conservative, you're going to be more kind of empathetic to the CIA than I would be, I would think.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, here's the way I always try to explain to people about why, like, the CIA messes up, and the CIA is, first of all, it's not omniscient at all, and it's not nearly as capable as a lot of. And certainly, if your sense of the CIA is what you see in the movies, you're gonna have this really inflated idea of what the CIA. Oh, hello.
She's a unicorn.
You're gonna have, yeah. You have this really inflated idea of what it can do. Oh, there she is, little baby. But if you, so anyway, but the other side of it is that every country around the world that has a budget like over $10 million, you know, has its own intelligence agency, and they're doing all kinds of shady crap. And so what people need to understand when they're like, we need to abolish the intelligence community, I'm like, okay, so then you'll just have the Russians and the Chinese and the Iranian reading your email all the time. Nobody trying to stop them. No one figuring, you know. So that's it's also like when people say we should just pull out of the Middle East. It's like, well, we shouldn't invade countries and try to rebuild them. But I mean, I don't think we should abandon all of our embassies either. I mean, there's a halfway measure. So, you know, the CIA is kind of a necessary. You need to have somebody who's watching what those other people are doing.
Okay.
And so otherwise it's unilateral disarmament. I mean, that's kind of my best argument for the CIA. But I mean, the bureaucracy, the IC overall is way too big. And there's 17 of these agencies now. I mean, I worked there and I used to be able to rattle them all off, and I probably could if you gave me a piece of paper, but like, I'd have to sit there and think, like, it's not that easy.
Here's a good question. Do conservatives drive the speed limit merely because they are submissive to progressives? I find it hard to believe they have no unique values. I'll give my answer, then I want to hear Buck's answer. I think a lot of that is because conservatives are raised in a progressive milieu, starting from kindergarten, then they go to university, so a lot of conservatism, especially historically, has been framed as a reaction to the left. So the left makes an idea, and then you're standing at throughout history yelling, stop. So right away, they're playing defense. So I don't know about submissive so much as subordinate. And I think only since, I would put it Rush Limbaugh, is where it started, where it's like, no, we're not playing on your terms. You guys are fucked, and we're going to put you in your place. And this is going to be, because you have no empathy for us. Why are we going to pretend that we share the same values? What's your perspective, Buck?
I mean, I think that modern conservatism owes more to Rush than any other person, really. I mean, people always like to talk about William F. Buckley, but I mean, Rush. You look at the influence. Well, you know, National Review people get mad at me. They'd say, "Oh, National," but I mean, the truth is, Rush has had more influence on more people than any other figure in conservatism, which is why the left hates him so much. And yeah, I think that just to take an example, it's something of it's almost like a revolutionary act when Trump, in response to a stupid, underhanded, unfair attack question, when he just says that, there's all the pearl clutching from the left-wing journos, as though he's like, you know, as though he's crossed the streams and now the Stay Puft is going to explode or whatever. I guess that was a good thing, but you know what I mean? And that's not like, of course he should respond that way. Well, why wouldn't he respond? But conservatism culturally had been like, oh, like when we get punched in the face, like we say, hey, don't do that. And we just keep getting punched in the face. So yeah, punching's wrong, you know, and that's really kind of the Mitt Romney school. And I think that, you know, Romney has shown a lot of us who he really is recently, where he's like, oh yeah, no, I'll fight for the enemy if you guys don't all listen to me. He's I get to have the ball of conservatism, you know, I get to be the one in charge, or else I'm taking the ball home with me and no one else gets to play with it. That's the Mitt Romney routine. And so, I mean, there's a lot of the never Trump has become now they're never Republican. I mean, you've seen articles on that recently, and that's actually happened, which was inevitable, of course. What else are they going to do?
Since we're such studs, one thing I've been very concerned about with my audience and in general, you know, I've talked about this, is like mental health during these situations. And when I was hanging out with my buddies over the weekend yesterday, like they were all just talking about leaving New York because like it's almost like New York left us. Like all the things we love about New York aren't here. The people in the street, the restaurants, the culture, just knowing there's a sense of life at all times, and that's gone. And now, why are we paying so much money for basically, to be trapped in our homes?
This is the world's most expensive penal colony, is what I'm calling it. That's what it feels like. Yeah.
How have you been maintaining mental health under these circumstances?
I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being totally serious with you. This little guy over here. Obviously, my girlfriend's in the room too, so I mean, she's been super helpful. But this little lady, because she's with me 24/7. Snow Princess has to do work and go home. But that's been really, and I think a lot of people have found that. I mean, there are all these shelters that are saying they've had like a 10x, especially for people. I mean, the really smart move, I mean, if you want to just get into it a little bit without going all the way, is to do the fostering, where you take the dog in and you take it for so basically during quarantine, you get a little buddy and you hold them for 3 months. And at the end of it, if someone adopts them online or something, but you're kind of in a good position that way. So that's been really helpful. The thing for me that's been the toughest, and I'm not like some workout freak or anything. I wish. I mean, I should work out a lot more than I do, but not having that physical release has been really challenging. And I know, I've tried to do push-ups. I've done some. I went 1 week into the 100 push-up challenge, and then I was just kind of epic. What am I doing? Yeah, what am I doing? Just doing push-ups isn't really, and you're in your space, and it feels like you're not really. So that's been really challenging. And I've stayed away from booze because I think booze is to celebrate, not to forget. So I've stayed away from booze pretty much. A little drinking.
Forget how much booze, the hangover is psychological. That's why I don't drink, because the next day I'm a mess. We have one from Shauna. To Buck's point about Rush, I grew up in the most progressive area in Seattle. No one likes to show off, Shauna. I knew who Rush was because he was a racist, bigot, homophobe. I didn't know who Buckley was until 2 years ago when I left the Matrix. Yeah, Rush's influence is because Buckley was witty, but the left likes wit. They'll allow it. The New Yorker crowd's like, oh, he's so droll. Rush is like, he's playing just really offensive things. Like when Max, what's her name? I'm being racist myself. Carol Moseley Braun was a black woman senator from Illinois, and he would play the Jeffersons theme song because she came out of nowhere and now she's in the Senate. I can see how people would be offended by that, but he's like, fuck you. And I think this kind of your offense is not being done earnestly. It's being made just as a mechanism to silence me is really come of age in the Trump era and the Trump presidency.
Yeah, well, there's some very clear lessons that we have from recent history. I mean, if you allow the other side to create the rules and to change the rules and have no principles that are guiding the rules, you will always lose. And that's what it's designed to do. And if anyone's like, well, Buck, what are you talking about? That seems kind of almost like some circular nonsense. Well, if you look at, no, really, but I mean, if you look at what's gone on with Biden and what the Kavanaugh standard was, and I mean, the gaslighting that's going on from people at CNN and these other places is like nothing you've ever seen before in your life. I mean, they were calling for him to step down, even though the allegations were pretty farcical, actually, when you really dig in. I mean, the third allegation, she actually saved him. That's what people don't realize. And I was in contact with people in the White House when that whole thing was going on, with the actual Kavanaugh hearings. And it was when Swetnick came forward and everyone's like, oh yeah, a serial gang rapist. Like, you were in college, but you came back to these high school parties and people were being drugged and gang raped by the dozens. And you didn't tell anybody about this. First of all, what kind of monster are you, right? When I was in college, if I came back and saw that crap happening with high school kids, I'd be like, where are your parents, right? There's just no way. There's no way. So that actually saved it because it was so absurd that people were like, okay, so this is all a hit, right? This is a hit. But notice how with Biden, the standard was for Kavanaugh, he should have to step down. The standard for Biden is people actually write editorials. I don't even care if he did it. They're like, I know. She's like, yeah, Biden, he sucks. He's old.
He's always smelling me.
Yeah, he's always. I will say, she smells really good. But,
really? Frenchies don't usually smell so nice.
She smells amazing. Yeah, I know. It sounds so creepy when I say it out loud in front of lots of people, but she smells really good. She's 11, man. She's an old lady.
Oh, little
she
lady.
Sleeps. Yeah, she sleeps 90% of the day, I'd say. She's just just her little tooth sticking out, her little tooth.
This one's another one from Shauna that I think you're really going to appreciate. Did you guys see Rose McGowan's take on Biden? She's really upset and shocked by the double standard I feel for her. Let me just make my point here, then I want to hear your thoughts. Rose McGowan is a great example of red pilling. because she is, I think, clearly disturbed on some level. She's not all there, but she's also clearly seen some shit. And we have absolute receipts in writing of how they tried to personally destroy her as a person and her career. We have Lisa Bloom pitching to Harvey Weinstein, hey, here's what we do. I try to make friends with her. Then at the same time, we launch a publicity campaign that she's a liar and a serial a lunatic. And then we try to offer a director gig. So and they're just plotting this out brazenly about a woman who at the very least has been through trauma. And then you're like, this is the face of evil. And then because she's not someone who can be controlled, all of a sudden Alyssa Milano becomes the face of Me Too. Like they just cast her just like David Hogg. And it's like now this one person all of a sudden speaks for this whole movement, even though this other person.
She's a bad person. I mean, Alyssa Milano, I interviewed her at her mansion north of Los Angeles. And I was completely fair to her. In fact, the liberal producer, who was like the #2 at the Hill when I was there, came up to me afterwards and he was like, I was impressed with how like restrained and professional you were with all of your questions and everything. She tried to get, after that, which I laughed because I like had 3 other jobs anyway. And I'm like, you really think? She tried to get me fired. She had her PR people called, like he was, disrespectful and aggressive. It was all on tape. She's just a dumbass. She's just stupid. And the moment you actually have her, the thing is she saw like journalists from DC. I didn't say I was a journalist, but like the Hill and assumed. And so she invited me into her home and like sat down. Like if she had Googled me for 2 seconds, it'd be like, yeah, maybe this isn't the thing that you necessarily want to subject yourself to. But I also think that's always, I give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, okay, maybe she actually wants to talk to the other side. But anyway, I'm sorry. I just thought of that. And her chihuahua almost pissed on my foot. She had a little decrepit chihuahua that came in during the interview and it just urinated like right next to me when we were taping. It was pretty funny.
Do you know how I'm not going to get into this. I'm going to respect your corporate status, but I'll tell.
Thank you. Yeah, we got to do like a members only show or something. You're going to ask me some of those questions.
Is an eye for an eye the only way to fight progressives? Do you think there's a way to take the high road without being surprised by their malevolence? I'll answer for me, then I want to hear Buck's answer. In my opinion, you read the Fountainhead. I'm sorry, everyone's going to roll their eyes. But taking the high road to me is living your values and having integrity. It also means standing by your friends and not apologizing for them. And if you have an issue with them, you take them aside privately and say something. And you stick to your guns, and loyalty to values and to people are paramount. So, and I think that kind of stuff is very effective, both strategically and ethically. You can sleep well at night. And it's also when your friends see how you have their back, behind their back and publicly, they'll be like, all right, this person's ride or die. I'm going to take that risk of standing up for them as well. And to me, it's just a very effective strategy and the right way to live morally. It's
people are complaining. They say that I have echo and feedback. So I'll go with the, just because I want to make the folks happy.
I got headphones. We can both do the headphones.
Hopefully that's better.
Okay. Let's go ahead. Can you hear me still?
Yeah,
now
I
it's
think
much worse.
Much better.
It's much worse. You sound like a robot.
There comes
Take them out, dude. It's really bad. Oof. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not hearing an echo. Now I don't hear you at all. You're muted. Oh, wait. Let me unmute you. Okay. Can't unmute your guest. The mic is not connected.
There we go.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm trying to make it easy for folks. Yeah, we had some. So where were we? I'm sorry. You asked about like being friends with people.
Is an eye for an eye the only way to fight progressives, or is there a way to take the high road without being surprised by their malevolence? Nico wants to know.
No, I think. All right, Buck. Your people, I would say, your people are fun. Like when I did your show a few months ago before the world ended, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I like the comments that I would get. I could just tell. I was like, oh, that's a Malice person's comment. They're like astute, biting, but kind of funny, and I'm like, I like it. I can handle this. Yeah. I'm sorry. Now I lost your question again.
Is an eye for an eye the only way to fight progressives?
Yeah, the answer is yes, because they're brainwashed, and the ideological balance is such that you can't. Like here's an example. It's not so crazy that multimillionaire news anchors at CNN, which I mean, I think they're the worst because CNN at least used to be. Do you want? I should use you. Oh, thanks. Is this too annoying for you? I'm sorry. Oh, okay. CNN shared space, quarantine. It's tight. So they pretend to be objective and honest, and they're not. So I think that's the worst. Like other places, I mean, if you look at HuffPost or Vox, they're left wing. I don't think they would ever deny that. But CNN anchors, you sat them down and you said, "Hey, it's laughable that you guys have a 17-year-old girl on national TV to talk about complicated scientific issues." They think you're crazy for saying that.
Right. How dare you?
How do you have a conversation with somebody? I mean, Jake Tapper, if you pushed him on this, or Anderson Cooper, if you pushed him on this, they'd be like, she's a global.
Well, did you not see Anderson Cooper was pushed and he's lost his shit on air? He threw a whole tantrum about it.
That's classic.
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. And I tweeted it out. I go, the rage. This is what's beautiful. There's a point where they think they're above the fray and they can ignore social media because that's garbage people and we're the important people. Now that dam has been breached and they don't know what to do about it. It's kind of like, so the fact that he had to address the pushback about Greta Thunberg, as he would say, he's a Vanderbilt. I mean, this guy's as old money as it gets. The anger and that he's like, Donald Trump Jr. is tweeting at this. Doesn't he have a company to run? It's like, how long does it take to fire off a tweet, Anderson? Remember you were firing off those tweets, but you said it was your assistant about Trump? Remember that? I remember that. So they're losing their minds, and I'm absolutely ecstatic. Here's a question. How do you guys feel about the post office collapsing? Lysander Spooner's coming in his grave. I am livid because I have a book en route to my house that's been there since April. I had a book that people spy funded about anarchism that's been en route to my house for a month from Manhattan. So I'm not happy that my packages are being trapped.
Yeah, that's no fun. I agree. I agree. That's no good at all.
Shaggin' wagon, #red eye. I don't know what that means.
Oh, that's because my car in college was a wood panel station wagon, which came out on red eye. And I told Greg that we called it the shaggin' wagon, and that never died down after that.
Okay, I'm going to try this. I think this is the issue. Keep talking. Hold on.
Someone just wrote, "How dare you?" That was the best Greta Thunberg line. I will say, I made a joke on a Fox show, and of course, all like Mediaite and or Daily Beast and those people like came at me for it. I didn't make fun of Greta Thunberg. I made fun of adults who listened to her, and even some of the Fox hosts were like, "No kid bashing," and it was outnumbered. I looked at them. I'm like, I'm not kid bashing. I was like, the kid is a kid, but the adults who listen to her are morons.
Well, it's
straightforward.
She's a high school dropout, okay, who probably couldn't get a prom date. And it's amazing how there's no situation where I want to listen to a teenage girl and have her tell me how to live my life. That's not a thing. And everyone knows it's not a thing. It's bizarre. Hey, Michael and Buck, question to Buck. Do you consider, I can answer for Buck. Do you consider your political philosophy to be anarchism today? If not, have you moved in that direction? I think you have moved in that direction.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, conservatism has had this test here where we have a really unforeseen and difficult situation that comes up, and the response from so many people is just whatever the government wants.
Right.
I mean, they are destroying America right now. I mean, what they're doing is unprecedented, and the ramifications of this people will be counting the downsides of the lockdown, which I also think from an epidemiological standpoint are at least questionable.
Yes.
Meaning like the benefit from it, very questionable. But I mean, you know what the analysis is that I'm desperate for someone to do? I've actually gone looking around the CDC website for the numbers. I would try to do it myself. What is the percentage drop month by month from the peak of flu season for flu? And what is the percentage drop that we have had from the absolute peak, which I think was first week April with this? And tell me if the slope downward is the same, it's seasonal and built up herd immunity that's doing this. It is absolutely not the lockdowns, which anybody could just sort of see. Anyway, we can talk about that all day. But in terms of the anarchism thing, yeah, I thought that I lived in a country full of people that would object to being told, stay home for 60 days, don't leave your house, do what we say. I mean, the people that are making these decisions, for those who keep saying, listen to the experts, and the ones who are actually deciding about things like this, you have Oxiris Barbeau in New York City, who's the head of the 6,000 person, $1.6 billion a year New York City health and whatever. It's like health and mental hygiene or something like that is the name. It's our health department. She's a non-practicing pediatrician from 20 years ago who for the last 15 years has focused on health equity, whatever that means, and social justice through a health prism. And the woman out in LA, who everyone saw the tweet that went viral about her, I don't remember her name, but there's a lot of funny stuff on Twitter about her now. She has a she has no medical degree, and she has a PhD in social welfare. Yeah, she's the one who's telling you if you're one of the 4 million people or whatever it is in Los Angeles County, she's the one who's telling you you can't go to the beach. The woman with the PhD in social welfare. Those are the experts that are. That's who's making. Don't point to all the scientists at the CDC or whatever. They're not making these calls.
It is H.L. Mencken, who's a hero of mine, and I'm sure you're a fan of him.
Great, I'm very familiar with Mencken. Yeah,
he has that quote which I tweet out I think once a week, and it always goes wide, where I say his quote: "The average man does not want to be free; he simply wants to be safe." And we're seeing it so overwhelmingly here, where so many people, even though there's no real risk to them, would rather be trapped at home with everyone else and will worry about my job later because I'm sure the government will give me my check, then I'm not going to. It's like they think they're going into like a e-press and going into like some kind of weird guerrilla warfare. It's like this is not a realistic possibility. And what else I'm just seeing in New York, because I'm taking the train every day to go to the studio, is it's incentivized the worst people to act in the worst ways. I've seen people get up and scream at a guy. I put this on my Instagram, who was Asian, but he was Western. I mean, this isn't someone who's like fresh off the boat. And even if he was, where's your fucking mask? Go back where you came from. Do you even understand me? Just standing over him and screaming at him. And I'm like, oh, I taped this on my Instagram. And I go, what kind of person are you that you would ever talk to anyone like this? Number one. And number two is, if he doesn't have a mask, why are you getting near him? Get as far away from him as possible. Assume he has every disease under the sun. It was very, very sad for me to see this.
So I mean, by the way, I feel there's so much I want to say, but also I feel like we have all these people on the right who are.
I got it. I'm running. Don't worry. We're the important ones. They're the plebs.
They can blame you. They can blame you. I'm just.
That's what the block is for.
I'm in the driver's. I mean, I'm in the passenger seat in this ride.
Well, here's a question: what is a topic you've discussed at length with an intelligent or anarchist such as Michael, where you ended up disagreeing fundamentally? Well, about the need of government. I think it's an easy one.
Yeah, I mean, Michael is, I think, the only anarchist I've ever really talked to. So I don't know if there's more one. So that would be a tough one.
What do you? Oh, this is the one I know. I want to hear Buck's answer. What do you think of this? Is insane to me. What do you think about Rhode Island forcing New Yorkers into quarantine when they escaped there from New York?
I mean, I think it's madness. I actually think it wouldn't. I don't think it would survive constitutional challenge either, because they're actually really exercising, because it's a clear infringement on interstate commerce, actual interstate commerce. Yeah. So I think that it's unconstitutional. I think it's nuts. But look, they've made everybody. What they've done is they've essentially created the virus has given them the opportunity to create a weapon that can destroy all human freedom, which is that it's no longer have any choices that you can make. And to the most basic, you cannot leave your home. You don't have freedom of association. You cannot speak out against this. Social media platforms, everything is risk to other people. And if everything is risk to other people and you can't be the arbiter of your own individual risk, there is nothing that is beyond the purview of the state. It's a huge open door for totalitarianism. And I'm just going to tell everybody, and this is why, look, there are a lot of people out drinking this weekend and stuff. Snow Princess and I went for a nice long walk. We saw what's going on out there. People are, restaurants are starting to open up and things are getting a little bit better.
But you saw open restaurants in New York?
Takeout.
Okay. That's still something. That's still something.
Yeah, no, it's definitely gotten better.
Good,
we know
good.
I'm over here in Hell's Kitchen. You can see more and more places are opening up.
Oh, good. That's making me happy.
For takeout, and they're serving more booze, and people are, and so that's really encouraging. But what's discouraging is that they want us, sort of the bargain here is that we just shut the hell up, and they'll let us out when they let us out if we shut up. But what we need to understand is that if we accept that what they've done is legitimate, is constitutional, and was medically, epidemiologically, medically necessary, they're going to do this again. There is going to be another surge of this in the wintertime, and they're going to say, okay, guys, get ready for lockdown again. And that's when we're all going to, I mean, that's when it's going to be like, okay, now there's going to be like rioting in the street. I mean, now people are going to lose their minds. So what they need to understand is that this was a one and done. We can never do this again. This was not worth it. This was the wrong thing to do. And we need to have that fight, unfortunately, now. Because
I agree with you. I agree with you. To be fair, it's primarily people in oppressive states who are being oppressed. Here in Georgia, we can go out and it's fine. I wonder, it's also, the oppressive states are also the ones who have the high population density. So there is a lot of Venn diagramming here to be had, Aaron, I think. If people would rather be safe, wait, here's another one. Key question is, how many among the death toll were completely healthy, caught the virus, and died from the virus alone? I think it was Frank McAfee or John McAfee who tweeted out that it's like, it's not going from dead from coronavirus, it's dead with coronavirus.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah, so it's a very convenient mechanism to jack up the numbers. There was an article in the New York Post, and I'm not saying this against you personally because you haven't been working out, where there was this morbidly obese person who died from coronavirus. And because I'm looking good, man. I'm ripped like crazy right now.
She's laughing, by the way. So.
It's like Frosty the Snowman in the summer. This guy was like 400 pounds. And the article's like, oh my God, this is so sad. He died so young. And you're looking at it and it's such propaganda. And there's not even maybe he's full-blown diabetic, maybe it's his, heart disease and all. And nope, it's coronavirus. And there's a picture and you're looking at it and you're like, there's a complete, at a certain point, it's not being shameless because a huge percentage of that audience is there trained to smile and nod and be like, yeah, this is terrible. And would never challenge it.
And so a couple of things. One is that, and I've really been having on my, and can I just tell all the people that are, whoever's here, you guys should all be downloading my podcast. And if you're not, I'm going to be very mad at you. It's Buck the Buck.
There's a link to your Twitter in the comments.
Anarchists what to do.
She's like, don't tell anarchists what to do. That's probably true. But
that's
anyway.
Not true. Anarchists enjoy being told what to do voluntarily from people we respect. We just don't like sass mouth from dames.
He doesn't like sass mouth from dames, honey. What's that? That's what you just gave him. So a couple of things. I mean, I feel like we have to get to Greg's big orange question in a second.
We'll get to it. We'll get to all of them.
But a couple of things. One is that they've, Alex Berenson, who's that former New York Times guy.
Yeah.
They're freaking out. I've had him on radio, I don't know, 3 or 4 times now. We've talked extensively. We share notes back and forth. And I mean, all I'm doing is I'm looking at what he shares and I look at the data and I go, okay, here's what a normal person would think looking at this.
Yeah. It's
what he's saying. Why doesn't anyone see this way? It's very straightforward. And one of the problems that's come up, and he's pointed this out, and I've seen this elsewhere, is that the federal government will pay more to these hospitals if they're coded for COVID-19 for each death, because there's all this federal money that's going into it now. So that's
incentives, yeah.
So that's, and hospitals are desperate for cash, as we know. A lot of them are shutting down. And I would just say on the other thing about the complete destruction of freedom that we're going through right now because of all this. I have celiac disease, so gluten is like an autoimmune.
Oh yeah, that's no joke.
Yeah, it sucks. I have the real thing, and there are people who, won't go to a restaurant even if they have it in the kitchen. Never mind what they eat. There are people who think it's in the air. There are people who take it this whole next level. Or peanut allergies, an even better thing. Sure. And we're basically going into a world now where, imagine if peanuts were in all of our food and the people with peanut allergies are walking around like, no one's allowed to eat because I'm allergic to peanuts. It's like, well, what are the chances of that particle getting in the air and like floating over to your face?
Right.
I think it's pretty small. But even look, you see what it is on planes. They're like, no one can eat peanuts because there's one person with a peanut allergy. And you're like, all right.
They are trained to act as if trade-offs don't exist.
Yep.
And that risk doesn't exist. And it's this bizarre mindset that there's no bridge between us and them. There's no communication possible. Here's an easy one. If people would rather be safe, how can anarchy work? All those people would voluntarily form a state for safety. If the government didn't control fashion, what would clothes look like? Well, it doesn't control fashion and you have infinite variety of clothing. So under anarchism, you would have infinite varieties of safety providers. The same argument against socialized medicine is the argument against socialized security and crime prevention. Here's another one from Greg. Here's the Greg one. Hold on. I'm going to make sure we get to all of them. Buck, in which spaces and cases do you think we need a legitimized this is get the cerebral stuff. In which spaces and cases do you think we need a legitimized coercive entity to rule over a group of people after a vote every few years? Why prefer that over a voluntary version?
Why are Malice questions like, why are listeners always writing a book? Oh, here we go. He's back.
Because they all have autism.
What do we need to do with what? What was it again? Can't they ask me what my favorite color is? These questions are too hard.
Okay, I'll talk to him about it privately, Greg. Elon discussed the inflated numbers on Joe Rogan, and he also tweeted out about the red pill, Patrick. I think Greg wants to know under what circumstances, why do we need a government that's chosen by a vote instead of a voluntary agency that people pay for?
Well, because if you have to pay, then there's, this is kind of like, why don't we have, literacy tests and other hurdles for voting, right? I mean, if you have to pay for it, people would say that they can't pay, or they don't know if, that it shouldn't be about money. And,
Okay.
So I think that's one way to answer that question, I suppose. I mean, look, I mean this like with respect. I mean, your people always, they think so far outside the box of what is kind of traditional political conversation that sometimes I have to be like, give me a second.
That's good. Isn't that good?
I know. I'm just saying. I've never heard that before.
I'm in medical coding. The argument from the medical community is that Rona pushed the illness over the edge, but regardless, that just means that we're medically unprepared due to crap health. Yeah, it's no joke. Yeah, Buck, take it off. They were talking about you taking off the hoodie. There's a backlash to the lockdown. Look at Elon rightly freaking out and taking the red pill. You think he moves Tesla to Texas? I don't think he's going to move Tesla to Texas. But this was what's really amazing. Rogan was talking about maybe he's going to move to Texas. And one of these cathedral operatives just snide like, yeah, I'm sure you're going to do that. It's like, it wouldn't be hard for Rogan. This isn't Fox. This isn't CNN. It's a guy. He needs Jamie. He needs 3 cameras. And he needs all that shit on his desk.
First of all, if I were him, I'd be doing it from like an island in Hawaii.
Tax shelter. Yeah. Or somewhere. It's really...
some of that Joe Rogan money.
All right, Michael. Who has the cuter dog? Kurt Schlichter with Bitey and Barky. I don't know about Barky. Or Buck and his little princess. Okay, for those of you who know, I'm a big fan of what I call God's mistakes. Now, this is man's mistake. I love the monsters. I love the freaks. So I would absolutely have to go with... In fact, if you go back on my Insta, my friend had a French bulldog, and I bought her a baby bonnet to wear. So I am all about this life.
So do you know how bulldogs, do you know that they breed for a gene that's actually a form of dwarfism? That's how you get bulldogs.
And that's why they have bow legs. Same with basset hounds.
Brachycephalic.
No, brachycephalic is a giant head. Cephalus means head.
No, I understand. I'm saying that the squashed face dogs that are bulldogs, it's called, they're brachycephalic dogs, and it's because of a dwarf gene that's been bred for them. So they are not really. This is not like natural selection at work.
No,
this
is
human beings saying like, "You're so cute. Oh, you're so cute, little babe."
I don't know if you followed this, but if you look at pet breeds for the last century, many of them have taken things to an extreme where it's unhealthy for the breed. Not just to mean inbreeding, like Neapolitan Mastiffs. They're the ones with the very loose skin on their face. They look like meat curtains. And now it's not what it was 100 years ago. It is a deformity, and it's really kind of a problem for some of these breeds. It's very unfortunate. What do you make of the Asian countries who implemented authoritarian measures but have less disruption to their economy and more freedom to act as they did before the pandemic than us?
I've been waiting for a really good analysis of why Japan and South Korea have been, because Japan didn't do a lockdown and didn't have the test and trace, as far as I know, that all these other places did. I honestly haven't seen a good explanation for it. I don't really know why it hasn't. Because think about it this way: I mean, what place could be more authoritarian than China? Like North Korea, maybe, but that's it. And the Chinese got crushed, and they were willing to do anything, right?
Yes.
I mean, they went beyond test and trace. They went like, we're gonna solder you in your home, and if you come out, we're gonna shoot you. I mean, that's like what could be. And they obviously weren't able to control it really either. So, I don't have a good answer for that. I've been looking at South Korea, I've been looking at Japan, but the thing that is interesting is there are countries that didn't shut down their economies and did not have huge outbreaks. So that means that shutting down your economy is not a necessity; it's a choice, and it's a choice that I think increasingly people realize was insane. So. I also, by the way, do you know what test and trace in South Korea actually looks like? Have you ever read what they're? So, I mean, if you arrive in South Korea right now, you have mandatory 2-week quarantine. You have an ankle monitor, like you're an escaped like pedo or something, right? I mean, they're going to like know where you are all the time. You have to download an app. You have to check in on the app twice a day, tell them all of your symptoms. You have to check in with the government monitor on the app. You have a $10,000 fine if you break quarantine. You don't get to go to a hotel for quarantine. They have special quarantine facilities for you for 2 weeks. Like, does anyone think that Americans are going to do that? And by the way, test and trace at this point, anybody who says that just hasn't been reading enough about this and doesn't know. I understand why the government's saying it. The government's saying it because the government will not tell you, we can't protect you from this.
Yes.
They keep saying, they won't say that. So they keep saying test and trace, test and trace. A disease at this phase of the pandemic, trying to test and trace it into submission is impossible. You will never do it. You have 3,000 cases a day, according to Scott Gottlieb formerly of the FDA, like 2 weeks ago, 3,000 nationwide a day, which means that there are probably 300,000 infections happening every day. You think you're going to test and trace 300,000 new infections every day? No, you're going to be at close to herd immunity long before you ever catch up to test and trace with that, which means everyone's getting exposed to the virus, basically, which is why we should have protected nursing homes and seniors and gone for that right away instead of this across the board thing. So.
2 quick points. Sorry I'm late. Michael, your streams during this have kept me sane. Hope you're well. This is me and Buck talked about this, that having these kind of hangs is going to help people get that sense of camaraderie. Buck, we got you for like 10 minutes. Is that cool?
No, I'm just saying she's going to say hi.
Oh, come on in, please. We're all friends here. Hi, Princess. I'm Michael.
Nice to meet you.
Do you have an accent?
Well,
you have an accent.
Arguable. Being from Buffalo, it's kind of automatic.
Oh, I thought I caught a little accent. No, English is my second language, so I'm not throwing shade at all.
Oh, got it. I was making a joke earlier. Don't tell the whole group of anarchists exactly what podcast to download. Understand your reference.
But Buck, I'm sure all the feedback you got from my show, whenever you've done, has been very positive.
Oh yeah, no. Well, we had a great chat, and your audience, I think, really even do. That's why it's people that actually have things to say in this business are excited when they find other people that have things to say, because unfortunately, much of the new media, and especially look, there's a lot of just fraudsters and cons and imbeciles running around, and also some of the people with the biggest traditional platforms are complete imbeciles.
Yes,
I think it's a shock to people, but I know them, and I mean a lot of them are really stupid. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Yeah, it's stupid in a level where you're surprised, because it's not like stupid like an average person at the office. It's like, how are you like walking around like at this level? Like, you would think this is the kind of person when you have a job interview, you're like, okay, I'll just ask you some questions of formality and throw your resume in the garbage because I'm never going to hire you because you're clearly something is fundamentally wrong with your thinking, and then they're on TV.
Yeah. I mean, and there's like a lack of intellectual curiosity too. I mean, your point about the insecurity of some of the. You have to remember, I mean, you look at someone like, not to pick on her, but someone like Katie Couric, for example, who was at the absolute height of the news media business and then went to work for Yahoo News for $10 million a year and figured out nobody cares what she thinks about anything. So unless you have that platform of a built-in audience of 8 million people a morning on Good Morning, whatever it is, Good Morning America, what are you now? And so that's why, the digital world has been making these gains for a while, but it's finally now clear to people that if they lose that privileged perch that they have, or if they're no longer in that chair, they cannot compete in a free and open marketplace. So you're seeing a lot more of that.
I want to talk to the girlfriend. Yeah. Okay. What is your favorite thing about Buck?
My favorite thing about Buck is that there's nobody on Earth like Buck.
Good answer.
What about like the Easter Island statues?
By the way, I have to say, Mike had to join this chat. I listen to Buck do live streams all the time, and this is by far the funniest one that I've ever heard out of my right ear as I'm reading a book.
Good, because I think I'm trying to do these to help the audience, because I feel a lot of them are really isolated, and if I'm feeling it with my crew and I get to do this, it's really bad for some of them, and I've been getting messages. So I'm like, this is going to be a hang, and we just talk shit and have a good time. Okay, Caitlin says Cavalier King Charles for the win. My friend had one, Winston. Frenchies are clearly better, and they're not as inbred. Cavalier King Charles, there were like 10 left, and then they reproduced the breed from just those. Yeah, they were an extinct breed. Oh, here's from Greg. Buck, I'll give you an easier question. What's Aleppo?
What is Aleppo? I know that one. I know that reference. That was the death of libertarian candidacy right there. That's what that
Yes,
was.
sir. There is a theory that dogs are on the spectrum. That's absolutely ridiculous because dogs can sense your emotions and they're very empathetic. That's the cats, maybe. Much like U.S. politics during COVID-19, that dog's eyes are pointing in two different directions. I know, he's a little Sartre. I'm writing my book about Camus right now. I just was writing it before we started. You both have epic last names. Can you imagine a new red eye that's called the Malice and Sexton Show? Nah, I think we have a better name.
Yeah.
If politics is downstream of culture, what culture does Buck see the right creating? This is a great question. To crowd out or provide compelling alternatives to progressivism?
So I think that because we've been pushed out of culture for so long, but now, so on the right, there's definitely a counterculturalism, and there's a little bit of like a cynicism and a humorous outlook you take on things. You're so used to having tomatoes thrown at you. You're so used to having everyone on college campus think that you're like, an idiot, you're wrong, you're terrible. This is why, for example, when it comes to memes and like the Trump era has brought this out, like we in an open marketplace of ideas where we can actually make fun of the left, they get slaughtered, right? I mean, the moment that it's not just watching like Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert and all these guys who are basically crappy political commentators with jokes instead of actual comedians, the moment that it's just like, who's going to say the funniest thing? And the left is absurd. I mean, the left is flatly ridiculous. And so the digital era has given us the ability, I mean, even things like this where we can connect, and all of a sudden, I think you're starting to see that change. So the culture is just, we actually are the free speech, free expression people now, which has become very interesting.
I want to know for the girlfriend, were you guys friends before and then started dating, or was it like a date? How'd you guys meet?
You can tell them. You go ahead. Tell a story.
We met on the street.
Yeah. Oh, that's game. Buck Sexton has game.
Let's call it a street poll.
The guy, Jeremy Ruby Strauss, who told Neil Strauss to write the game, who discovered Neil Strauss, also discovered me. And I'm very familiar with, yes, he did. That book is of enormous use to people who are socially awkward. It's framed in the context of dating, but it's of use in the office or just interpersonal communication. And it breaks it down for people who are really socially never learned those skills. Wow. So he opened you on the street? What was his opener?
Well, kind of.
You don't have to get into it if you don't want to.
You can tell him.
I was with a friend who recognized him.
Oh, yes! Hell yes! Yep. Okay, yeah.
So he's like, hey, that's Buck Sexton. I'm like, yes, it is, sir. And I see her, and I'm like, hello.
The last question, I'm only half joking. If you're on a date with a professional talker, what is the conversational dynamic like? Because I would imagine if someone's a pro, like I'm a pro, is there like, is he taking over the conversation, or is it more of a natural discussion?
He has a lot of personality.
No, he didn't take over the conversation. The first date we went on, the restaurant was inordinately like overheated.
Okay.
And you had Buck, former CIA, sitting in a chair just dripping in sweat. So I was expecting to be the one in the hot seat sweating, but it didn't exactly work that way. By the way, commenter who said big head, yes, that is my second favorite thing about Buck.
5,000 in Japan, South Korea and Japan, high vitamin D from seafood, less chronic disease from poor diet. That's probably true.
Obesity is a huge thing with this too, which we're not allowed to talk about this, but obesity is a huge risk factor, enormous. If you're older and really overweight, that's a big problem.
Are you guys excited about the amount of gun sales that have gone up? I'll answer first. I had an article for the Observer years ago advocating for mandatory gun ownership. So I think I'm of the school, being an anarchist, that politics is, you're not going to win an argument with the anti-2A people. They will use any excuse they have to disarm you and make you unsafe in your home, which I am here in New York. So gun proliferation is the best argument for gun rights, in my view. What do you think, Buck?
Yes, I agree. I want more people to have more guns. I mean, John Lott wrote a book, More Guns, Less Crime. And I mean, all the data backs it up. And look, I mean, I can just say it from my experience. And granted, I had like federal training and stuff, and actually I had Navy SEALs literally teaching me how to shoot at the agency. But you know, everyone's safer from violent crime and felonies if I have a firearm on me, and I think that's true across the board for the 99.9% of people who are good people. So,
any idea when the Camus book will be out? I'm only 6 pages in, Frank. Let's calm down. Who is the least funny night show host, and why is it Colbert? It's not even close. It's clearly Samantha Bee. And I had a tweet, and I still don't have a good answer.
Yes.
I find her more repellent on a visceral level than literally anyone else, and I can't figure out why. I don't think she's the ugliest. I don't think she's the unfunniest. I don't think she's the smuggest. But she is the one who, of everyone, is the most where I'm like, you represent everything that's wrong with Prague culture.
Yeah, I mean, she was the one also who made fun of the kid at CPAC, who she said he had a Nazi haircut, if you remember. And actually, he had stage 3, I believe, cancer. It was going through chemo, and so they had to create a port into his skull, which is why he had shaved on the side. Yeah, I don't know. This all happened.
Well, in her defense, just like Hitler, he only had one testicle, so it kind of, you know, maybe she wasn't that far off.
See, he does this. You say things. You drop little honey. He'll drop factoid, and he's just waiting for you. Like, really, that's really interesting. And then later, he's like, no, my followers are all gonna right to Lou. Malice is a little mean.
No, you know what? Hitler had one testicle. I'm not joking. You
really?
Knew this. Yeah,
I mean, and he's a vegetarian. No,
he had one testicle, or that's the rumor. I'm 90% sure. So that if the guy had testicular cancer, that would be something he had in common with Hitler.
But anyway, Samantha Bee's terrible. But I actually think the least funny may be who's the little mean one from Saturday Night Live. He was doing Weekend Update. By the way, the current Weekend Update guy was actually my high school.
Jimmy Fallon?
No. I like him. He's nice. No. The guy who's no, it's not Jimmy.
Don't say David Spade. Don't you dare say my dad. Okay.
Seth Meyers. He's the least
funny. I didn't even think
not funny at all. He's never been funny. I don't know.
And he looks so.
Him that job. His uncle must run the industry or something. He's not funny.
Me and Meghan McCain do not agree on anything politically, but we're acquaintances. I'm pals more with Ben. And when she
I'm a friend of Ben's.
What's that?
I'm a friend of Ben's. Yeah.
Yeah. When she went on Seth Meyers' show, and he basically thought, was presented like, oh, it's gonna be fun, and then he just starts hitting her really hard, and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, you would never do this to someone from your team. It was just so shameless, and I'm like, she held her own. I mean, Meghan McCain doesn't need my help certainly, but it was just like, this is your opportunity to flex on this chick, and it's like.
Another thing is people have to understand. I mean, like I did Bill Maher pretty recently. I've done it twice, and the first time because it was sort of pre-corona, and like there were some topics to talk about, but this time it was just Trump lies. We're all going to die. Corona is going to come for us, and like Trump's a moron. That was all they were saying. And what people have to understand is that if you're in a position like you're on a show like this, if it's one-on-one, you can actually push back whatever. But if it's 3 or 4-on-1, if you try to take the airtime you need to deal with all the incoming, then you're the maniac who's rude, whatever. So you just have to, take what you're given and deal with it. But in shows like that, I mean, I also hate when it's supposed to be a friendly conversation, and only libs do this. You never I as a conservative would never invite somebody on my show in good faith to like have a friendly conversation about, embroidery or like how to make the best cacio e pepe. She's an amazing cook, by the way. And then be like, oh, so what do you really think about these allegations against Trump? I mean, I think it's a dirty thing to do, and it only happens one direction. I never see conservatives on their platform invite someone on in good faith and then attack them about something that has nothing to do with it.
It's also amazing that The View, the closest person who's a pro-Trump person is Meghan McCain, who denounced Trump at her father's eulogy. Like, this is as close to a Trump supporter as you're going to get on this show with 5 or 6 women. And this is supposed to represent thought in America. Buck, what do you think let's ask the girlfriend first. Princess, what do you think about Buck's political views? I'm sure you're amenable to them because you are Aryan. And do you guys discuss the topics of his shows privately? I don't like talking about my shows off the air with friends. I
can answer that part. We don't talk about the shows off the air.
Yeah.
She can answer about her politics. You want to plead the fifth, babe? You can. She pleads the fifth.
So you don't have to. Independent. I'll say the Aleppo comment hurt my heart deeply, so maybe I do stand with some of you.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And Buck and I usually have other things to talk about,
right.
And for 5 hours of radio a day, we tend to give him a break on that. But to answer the gun question, I did see it, And by the way, big head commenter, we are reading everything you're saying, so keep it up.
You shouldn't be acknowledging all the plebs. Buck, what do you think are the biggest strategic failures of the U.S. right? That's a big question, Greg.
I mean, neo-imperialism, definitely, the not agenda, which I will take. I mean, the same way that for like about a 10-day period, I was like, oh God, like I guess these models say, you know, we should lock down for 2 weeks. These models say we're all going to die. I mean, what else are we going to do, right? Turned out that was wrong. But I mean, and look, I was college age. I mean, I was a college kid when these stuff. So it's like, you know, this is why college kids, those who are watching this are obviously smart, but college kids in general are idiots. So I didn't really know any better. But that was the biggest. I mean, what were we doing? And it was really based in so much that is anti-conservative, and yet it was dressed up as this conservative freedom project. That's a generations long mistake, and I think it's important for the right to admit that.
I think it's also useful for us as people with audiences to be like, I used to think this, I was wrong, this happened, and now I've changed my mind. So it's nothing wrong with making mistakes and coming to a better understanding of reality, and that encourages other people to have honest discourse, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Could Aleppo have been a case where Johnson was just not in on the fake news? No, that's not the case. No.
No.
But with your views changing, what do you think of your time with the CIA? Ex-Intel community here.
I mean, I left it. So it's really tough, right? Because the CIA, if you think of the CIA almost like a really big state school, you have a much better sense of what it is. What did I do? It looks like I scared Michael away.
No, look, someone asked a question if I've ever shot a gun, and I have the thing where I shot it here. So answer the question. Hold on a second.
Yeah, sure. So guys, I'd say this with the CIA, if you think of it like a state school, let's say, you know, a state school that has tens of thousands of students in it, right? Or, you know, that size school, it's not really like, what do you think of the place? It's what did you think of your major, and like what part of campus did you live on? And, you know, it's very hard to take much from the aggregate experience is that it's a huge federal bureaucracy. It's slow. That process is the product. That excellence is suspect, and the best people generally leave. There are some great people. I mean, some of my best friends in the world they're basically all out now, but some of them are, you know, were CIA people for their whole careers. And it's, like I said, it's necessary, right? Like I'll say this. I worked for a little bit at the NYPD doing analytics stuff. And law enforcement is necessary, but for me, law enforcement is soul crushing. I mean, because you're gonna put people, like, you're gonna be a part of a process of ruining people's lives and putting them away, who are not bad people, but who, you know, look, when it comes to like rapists, pedos, murderers, yeah, of course, I'm the first one to want to flip the switch. But I'm talking, you know, you want to know what the FBI does? A lot of wire fraud, mail fraud, Medicare fraud, you know, stuff like this, basically stealing from the government. I mean, there's a lot of, and then drugs, which is another place where it's, I mean, drugs are a huge part of it, by the way, of course.
Sure.
But, you know, if you're selling people drugs that they want, are you a horrible human being? I mean, I think the answer is,
you're a hero.
You're a hero.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Adore the Bulldog. Michael, you're looking amazing lately. Are you aging in reverse? Okay, this is, you're kind of half joking, and I'll tell you the truth. My dad was the fat kid in school, like twice as big as everyone else. My mom is the hot chick. She's still like 115 pounds. When I gain weight, it goes directly to my face, and it's incredibly aging. I was just on Rubin a couple of months ago, and you look there, I look like a 50-year-old lesbian, and now I look like a 35-year-old lesbian. And it's strictly a function of body fat. It's really, really weird and annoying. Someone asked if I've ever shot a gun. The first time I shot a gun, I had a little 22, which I thought was something to be embarrassed about, but I'm told it's not. And I shot it pretty well.
Nice.
I've shot more guns than I've driven a car. Like I don't love shooting guns. I don't think it's that fun. So I don't get the adrenaline rush there. But I
smell like a dog now, by the way. Anyway, sorry.
I'm a big gun nut. I'll tell you guys a funny story. Buck, you'll enjoy this. There was some chick on Facebook who said, if any of you are gun nuts, let me know so I can remove you from my Facebook. And I go, yo, right here. And she unfriended me. And I may have bought her domain name and now forwards to the NRA. And guess who owns JohnO'Brennan.com? Yeah, if you go to it, it goes to a Trump page. Does your snow angel know how to shoot? And what's her favorite gun? Babe, my husband and I are using our Trump bucks to get an everyday carry. Good for you, Donna.
I do know how to shoot. I leave the
Good.
gun handle.
She does know how to shoot, but she's not like an avid shooter.
Yeah, but if you know how to shoot, you're already a gun nut for these types.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, you should be read out of polite
I
society.
was put in situations where somebody who like wasn't, I would disappear to, the CIA has the training facility, the farm, they make movies about it and everything else. And you end up going there and you shoot guns. And I remember shooting guns so much. And of course, like my little, Amherst grad hands were not really out carrying heavy buckets in the field. So let's just say that like I remember my hands getting chewed up from weeks of just firing all day long. That was what we were doing, just firing guns all day long. So the thrill of it is a little bit like I'm not a gun guy, and so the thrill of it is not as high for me as this for other people. But I like it. I like it for about 30 or 40 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
But like days and days of it, it's just there's other things that I want to get out of life too.
Yeah, it's like working out and doing like the treadmill over and over. It's like I'm not getting anywhere here.
No, I mean you can get to the point where you're like, okay, well now this is a job. I mean, if you're going shooting, I put 2,000 or 3,000 rounds over the course of like 10 days out of a Glock. Like after a while, you're like, I get it. Like I fired it enough.
I've come to the realization that economics isn't about capitalism versus socialism. It's about the size of the tribe. We just aren't meant to live in 300 million person societies. I disagree. I think the bigger the society, the better, because you can have me and Buck are having a society right now, and then me and another friend, and society and our relationships are fluid. And the more people you can interact with, the fuller your life is, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This is the globalist side of me. I love that I just tweeted out last week, there was someone had these weird Serbian aftershaves. The brand was called Tobacco, and one of the scents was magic. And I said, is there anyone in Serbia who can mail me this? And I had 3 people right away. I love that. I mean, that is something that is objectively awesome to me. How long will we have to differentiate between pre and post virus? Forever? Forever? I don't know. That's a good question.
Meaning just like, are we going to have this designation that in the way that we speak about it, or
like pre or like before and after internet, right? Is this really, or like 9/11? Is this going to be a thing that defines us? You think it's going to be forgotten?
I mean, yeah, I think it'll be because what's going to happen is we're the problem is the political reaction and the economic downfall from this. I mean, this is going to burn through, in my estimation, this is going to burn through America for the next 18 months. And at the end of that, I mean, New York is already at about 25 to 30%. And people that are saying, oh, maybe you don't have antibodies, well, then we're really screwed because vaccines stimulate antibodies. So if antibodies don't work, guess what? We're not getting a vaccine either. And this is like a super virus that anyway, this is going to burn through. And I mean, you look at like the history of viruses like this, if it mutates, chances are it's going to mutate and be less dangerous. People always worry about it being more dangerous. That can happen, but generally mutations actually make the virus less lethal. And if you have immunity to this more dangerous form of it, even if it does mutate and it's less lethal, that's less of an issue. You look at the Spanish flu of 1918, it was followed by the Roaring 20s. And there were still some cultural things, and just getting fresh air and sunlight is really actually, that concept became very popular during the 1919 pandemic. So people should remember that.
One of the most important victims of the Spanish flu is one of my great heroes, Randolph Bourne, who was an early progressive, and he was the only one who spoke out about us getting into World War I. And they basically Tulsi'd him. They rode him out of town in a rail, and they just smeared him helplessly.
I'm a little, the Tulsi thing. I'm annoyed because I feel like I had my sense of why they were doing that to her, but I never read a really definitive, like, why does the left hate this veteran minority female so much? Not all of the left, obviously, but like the establishment Democrats just despised her, wanted to destroy her.
That's a whole sidebar. But anyway, Randolph Bourne died in the Spanish flu, and he's the one who authored the quote, "War is the health of the state." And that is a sentence that is a lot of profundity to it. Do you think it's a problem that neo-imperialism also led people to think they were left-wing because they were anti-war? I was in that camp for a while. I'm just amazed how quickly the anti-war side vanished from the left, even by hypocritical standards.
Oh, well, no, I think that the anti-war movement just got conflated into the just anti-right. I mean, that happened. If you look at Obama, the escalation in Afghanistan, more people were killed in Afghanistan under Obama than were under Bush by a pretty wide margin.
Oh, wow.
Which very few people know. I mean, people just didn't recognize that. Obama surged to 100,000 troops in Afghanistan, which is a complete waste. And I would have said, and I was there. I mean, I was literally there in the country when he was doing it. It was a total waste of everybody's time. We haven't made any gains in Afghanistan. In fact, the Taliban's stronger now than they've been at any point since 2001. So I just bring that up because where were all the Code Pink ladies screaming for 8 years? There were a few of them, granted, but very, very few. And certainly no general anti-war. Look, the left has a lust for power, which is the one thing about it you almost have to respect, because there's a monomaniacal approach that they take, but there's no principle, right? So I always say that gives you a lot of latitude, but not a lot of grace or dignity.
Are you familiar with the book America Before by Graham Hancock?
No.
Okay, and someone said, speaking of free people, in the middle of reading How the Scots by Arthur Herman. I'm reading an Arthur Herman book right now called The Cave and the Light, which is the history of Aristotle versus Plato. And it's basically a history of reason and Western civilization. It's one of the best books I've ever read. I'm going to have him on one of these as soon as the book's done. It brings me to tears because it's a love letter to the human mind. And it talks about, you know, how the geniuses of each era and what they gave us through philosophy. It's just an amazing masterpiece of a book. And he writes it in a level that anyone can understand, these amazing concepts. How long before Reformation? I don't know what you mean by that, Joshua. I'm sorry.
I don't know either.
Do you think? You think we're going to kind of reboot?
Snow Princess says she loves Aristotle, by the way. So you know,
hell yeah!
I like that Aristotle.
I'm becoming more and more amenable to Plato in recent days, but that's for reasons I can't really get into on this stream. Hold on a second. What do we have here? Hey guys, what is the biggest problem with libertarians? It seems they haven't made any progress. I disagree. I think in internet culture, it's become such a philosophy that everyone has to be aware of and engage with. Don't you think, Buck?
Well, there's
maybe not the party. I mean, the ideology.
I was going to say, I mean, politically, it's a waste of everybody's time.
Of course,
but you know, philosophically, it's certainly interesting. But you know, look, I worry because I feel like this whole experiment with the virus has shown we think we're being sophisticated, but really we're actually going back to the problems of our human species. You know, that are some of our lobes in the brain are too small, others are too big, and people are fearful and they're afraid of the dark and they're afraid that there won't be a future for them unless they do everything they're told, and that's not good. That's not good. But I actually have to go feed the Snow Princess and I have to go eat. So we haven't eaten yet. But dude, I'll do this with you anytime, man. I mean, we'll do this more. This is fun.
I'm going to stay on. It's good to virtually meet the lady and the puppy. Thank you for doing this, Buck, and stay safe and sane. We'll talk soon, buddy.
Tell your people that for a right-wing corporatist, I'm actually pretty cool.
They know that. Yeah.
I wouldn't be here otherwise. Thanks, brother.
Talk soon, Buck.
Okay.
I'm going to stay on with you guys for a little bit. If big society is good, do we need a central authority to maintain open borders between states, counties, and towns? I don't know what you mean by we need. I think there would be different mechanisms, and some would work. And the problem with any filter, meaning a border, is you want to make sure you keep out who you don't want, and you want to make sure you let in who you do want. And any filter is going to have that problem because sometimes you're going to keep out people you do want, and sometimes you're going to let in people that you don't. And this is one of the divisions between right or left, stranger versus the outsider versus the inner circle. And the problems, plus and minuses, I think, are pretty apparent. Buck's not going to be an anarchist, Greg. It's not going to happen. Let me see. Do you think Antifa will be framed as socially responsible for covering their faces in future protests? No, I think they pretend Antifa doesn't exist. And that's a very big technique of theirs. Thank you, Sam. Buck's my favorite corporatist. Who's my favorite corporatist? He's up there. He's a good dude. And this is really cool of him to do. And he didn't need to do this. So I'm going to have Corey DeAngelis on soon. Arthur Herman I already talked to. I'm sure I'll have Tom Woods, very failed podcaster. So let me show you guys these boxes of cereal. I'm going to be back in 90 seconds. All right. So this is going to be, have you read Problem Political Authority by Michael Huemer? I have, and I adore that book. I hope there's still not an echo. So I want to thank Steve, who chipped in some spike funding. And another live stream, I'm going to be eating these cereals. So on malice.locals.com, I have every cereal I'm buying. I've right now 3 stacks up to my chest. I'm going to eat my way through them. I'll be reviewing every single cereal there, with some exceptions. I didn't have the chocolate ones. I don't have the maple ones. Loved your last talk with Dave Smith. Hearing about your philosophical journey was wonderful and inspiring. Thanks again for these. I'm really glad. I got to tell you, it is I don't know what the word is, but if I can make people's lives easier during this situation, then that is very gratifying for me. Damn, I didn't get to ask you and Buck to debate which is better, Brooklyn barbecue or Texas barbecue. Have you gotten the John Locke part yet in Cave in the Light? I've not, Zach. So let me show you this cereal that I'm going to be trying in another live stream. So this one is, it's going to be the same thing. This is Fruity Pebbles. Its expiration date is November 2013. And this is extreme. It's just going to make the milk really brightly colored. The Elon Musk red pill thread. Oh, yeah. Wasn't that great? Dude, we're going to win. I told you we're winning. I told you we're winning. This is not that special, but it's just a Captain Crunch popcorn. This is going to be fun. This expiration date is February 2016. And this is the one I'm most excited about. So I was a Y2K consultant. That was my first job at 1250 Broadway. And this is a box of Cheerios to celebrate Y2K, once in a lifetime. Expiration date, oh, it's kind of faded. It says, I can't even read it. April 24th, 2000. You can't see it, but it's there. I promise. So I'm going to try these. I think I'm going to get this framed because it looks so cool and it speaks to my personal biography. And at first I'm like, wait, this is going to be disgusting. Oh, look, there's a millennials moment. It says on the side, where were you at the turn of the millennium? I was at blank on December 31st, 1999. I think I was just at home. So at first I was like, wait a minute, if I eat all these, I'm going to die. I'm either going to have ergot poisoning or mold. And my friend Jackie pointed out that there's a guy who eats these old army rations. And someone else pointed out, my sense of sight and smell is going to be good enough that if these are moldy, which is my concern because it's grain with sugar, that I'll be able to see and smell it very easily. And I think worst case scenario is it's going to be stale, which is perfectly edible. So I'll do a stream where I eat these. And if you go to my Instagram, I'll have a photo of all the cereals in my house. People have been chipping in money for spike funding. And I've been buying all like literally every kind stuff that came out in 2 years ago, like a limited edition, to try them all out. I love going down these rabbit holes. I think the bigger left-right divide, Sean, I agree with you completely, is sympathizing with the powerful versus the weak. There's several axes that are valid. I have been really disturbed by the way landlords have been talked about during this. Landlords do actual work. The hatred's gross. Yeah, I that's a very good emotional resonance. Do you sympathize with the weak? Not empathize. Sympathize. They don't imagine themselves as that in a serious way, or empathize with the strong. Hear me out. Anarchism with AI AI hegemons that facilitate the nap. Forget recreational McNukes. Recreational gray goo nanite swarms instead. Interesting. That might be potato enough to work. Which Republican presidents are the biggest villains akin to Wilson? Leaving out Teddy. Fuck you. It was going to clearly be Teddy. Okay, let's go through them. Let's pull up a list of the Republican presidents. I think, who would it be Nixon? There's not that many. It's going to be, okay, it's going to be Lincoln. He's pretty bad in terms of the state. Grant was just kind of corrupt. It's not McKinley. It's certainly not Harding, Coolidge, Hoover-ish, but I wouldn't say anywhere close to a villain like Wilson. Eisenhower, no. Reagan, certainly not. I mean, W is really up there, I would say. And certainly in a Wilsonian way. So I would say probably W. And certainly, and maybe HW in many ways. But I think W is worse. Is there a locals in for gas subs? No, I don't know how to do that. I'm sorry. But locals is free. It just costs money if you want to post or read certain like exclusive content, but it's free. So just join. And it's a great, great place where like there's no drama and everyone's having fun. They're posting reviews of all the weird food. It's great. So please come join us. Let me just email Buck quickly. Thanks so much, bro. We'll send you link tomorrow when it wraps. Okay, let me get back to StreamYard. Lincoln's the worst because he's valorized the most. Yeah, I can see how you can make the argument for that. Okay. What else? Do you guys want to see what I got in the mail? That's really, really cool. So I'll tell you guys a story since we're hanging out. I like these hangs. They kind of make my day. So when I was a kid, I was a poor little like immigrant kid, and there were lots of things. Kids named the scorpion Stinger. Yeah, Chris is on the locals group. People are showing stuff from their families. It's like Facebook, but no one's going to be an asshole, or they're all going to be assholes in the best way. George Bush's Heroes for the Cause of Helicopters. Yeah, Lincoln was the worst president. Not even close. It's Wilson. It's clearly Wilson. It's not even close to, even if everything you believe about Lincoln is true. And I think a lot of the anti-Lincoln people take it too far because he could have been much worse. Because I think it's a lot of a reaction to the Lincoln beatification. It's not even close to Wilson. Lincoln certainly wasn't as psychotic as Wilson. He explicitly said all the time, if I could have the Union with slavery, please, let's have it. And he meant it, I think. Wilson was not that way. Jekyll Island. What does that mean, Noah? I'm sorry. Thoughts on Bill Gates and his vaccine of global idea schemes. I have not been following that at all. I have a box of Flutie Flakes from November 22nd, 1999. Oh, is that Doug Flutie? I'm not a sports person. Let me tell you what I have my eye on in terms of cereal. And then this might be of interest to people. Then I'm going to show you what I got in the mail. So this is what I have left to buy. Right now in my house, I'm going to count it off. There's a file. Of course, there's a file. I have 50 boxes. In the mail, I have 12 boxes. Here's what else I have to get. So there's something called Fillos, which are pillows with filling. It's a cereal. It's more like a cookie. So I'm going to get a cinnamon roll Fillos. Then there's a Dippin' Dots banana flavor. Llama Loops. Drumstick, like the ice cream, vanilla flavor. Blueberry, I got to get. Coconut flavored Cheerios. Banana flavor Frosted Flakes. Those are $20. They're hard to find. Fruity Pebbles that are magic. They just turn the milk blue. And Frankenberry. Then they just came out with honey flavored Lucky Charms. And I'm going to, there's a ton of, I'm going to get all the Raisin Brands, all the Honey Bunches, all the Rice Krispies at some point. But right now, those are like the ones I'm going to be getting. Lincoln killed 1,000. HW only killed JFK. Well, no, he also almost killed Reagan. Remember, wasn't he dining with who's the one who shot Reagan? I'm blanking his name. John Hinckley. Hinckley's dad that day. It was something really crazy like that. Which cereal has the best mascot? Well, obviously, I'm going to have to say Lucky the Leprechaun. But I am not joking. I have been close to getting a Blueberry tattoo because it represents a lot of things, and I was going to get it here. No, on this one. So Blueberry is someone who's very near and dear to my heart, and it has a lot of personal representation and concepts, and it's very important. I think a tattoo should have meaning, and I also like the troll aspect because someone will look at it and be like, Blueberry, and then once I tell them like the 8 reasons, it'd be like, oh wow, that's so cool. So yeah, let me pour my more water, and then I'm going to show you guys what else I got in the mail today. Blueberry is Richie the Rich's ghost. Richie Rich's ghost. Richie the Rich. Are you going to adjust your eating on the rest of these cereal days in order to make the macros work out? No, I eat cereal every day. I eat 8 servings. Can you get into that a bit for us fatties? If you go to malice.locals.com, I put my macros, but I eat cereal as my carbs every day. You need to do like 5 to 6 normal cereal boxes. Say what you like and don't like about these. That allows us to know where we stand. I'm doing all the cereals. I'm including the normal ones and the abnormal ones. So they're all going to be there. If you look at the picture, there's Golden Grams, there's Fruit Loops, Honey Smacks, Corn Pops. Thanks for doing these. I'm in Montana where we're almost back to normal. I feel for all the folks still stuck in lockdown and struggling. It was bad yesterday, but this has cheered me up a lot. And hearing all the positive feedback that this is helping people with mental health really is very moving to me. And I feel very blessed that I'm in a position to be able to make people's lives a bit easier, because I'm really good at making people's lives worse. So to be now in the other side is, who's texting me? Okay. It's people always say humbling. I hate that word, but it's like, it's humbling in the sense, like, if I get a message from someone and they're like, yeah, I was in a bad way, and then I listened to your podcast and I'm cheered up, it's like, holy shit, it gets to you. I'm getting all sweaty. I have this office set up so I never have to get up. I can be an invalid. Right here. I gotta thank be excellent to each other. Yeah, I mean, this is why I block people. Like, you're gonna come in here sneering at me. How are you gonna talk to one of my followers? You're just gonna be an asshole. And maybe someone's never heard of anarchism, or they've never heard of this or that, or we've all asked dopey questions. Like, maybe I'll slam you with the questions, in a funny way, because I get a gotcha. And then if you have a sense of humor about yourself, you'll enjoy it. If not, that's fine too. But especially, there's so much of that, and it's common. And just because something's common doesn't mean I'm going to accept it. Would you rather end taxes? Which would you rather end, taxes or corporate protections? Oh, taxes, easily. That's very easy. I think corporate protections you can work around fairly easily. Let me show you what I got in the mail today from France. So when I was a kid, I was saying I was a poor little immigrant boy. And this is why I had that poll question about windmills versus Ferris wheels. Lego was, and I think still is, quite expensive. And well, let me show you there's two things I got. I'm going to show you one, then the other. I'll be back in literally 10 seconds. So I got to tell you guys, like, stuff that means a lot to you when you're a kid, like seeing it again as an adult, it does a number on you. Especially if this camera it's very fancy too, especially like just tactily, like remember how this felt in your little hands. So when I was a kid, we didn't have a lot of money, and toys meant a lot to me. I guess that's my kind of love languages kind of thing. How do I reset the camera? Do I stop it and start it? Would that make a difference? What did I do last time? Did I do this? I think I did this. Hold on, let me try this. Did that do it? Okay, let's see if this does it. Anyway, so this was, oh, there it goes. So this was the only Lego I had as a kid. And I just got it in the mail from France. There's two things I got. And I put it together, and I remember very vividly, this is the anchor or the ballast you could have in the bathtub and it would float. And just seeing it again, it's just kind of like, it takes you back to those grateful. Oh, thank you, Sebastian. That's very sweet of you. It takes you back to that time. And I didn't really have a very happy childhood. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't, I mean, it could have been a lot better, especially now that I'm the age that my parents were. I'm like, oh, you guys, this didn't need to happen this way. So it's kind of cool to see it and be like, you kind of think back to like some good times. I don't know. This was like $10-20. What I hated most about Buck Sexton, he gave attention to the pleb that weren't giving fiat. Oh, Greg, I'll have to have a talk with the next person. That will never happen again. So I always had stomach issues as a kid, and I had them until I was an adult, like, until and literally every day I'd have stomach discomfort. And some things would set it off, like fatty food. And still to this day, like if something's very fatty, just like viscerally, I can't eat it. And then I had a friend who had Crohn's. And I've said this many times, and I'll say it as many times as I need to because it could help a lot of people. And he suggested probiotics, and I took them, and within a day or two, my stomach issues went away, and they never came back. And it's like a miracle that I swear by. And anyway, one of the miracle cures that they tried to give me as a kid was we went to this place in what was then Czechoslovakia called Karlovy Vary. It's a famous town. And what was really fascinating is when I was doing Dear Reader, they talked in there about the Karlovy Vary Film Festival that North Korea apparently won. I was like, that's kind of bizarre. And they have these springs with mineral water, and you drink it. Then you have to drink it through a special little teapot so it doesn't touch your teeth because it's bad for your teeth. So you have to drink it whatever. And when I was there, there was some Middle Eastern rich dude. He wasn't in a dress. He was in a suit, whatever. But he was hitting on my mom. And he wanted to buy me this thing at the American store or the foreign goods store. And I said no. He wanted to give me his watch. And I said no, because I knew if he gave me these things that she'd have to fuck him. I've been taking probiotics. Which brand do you use? I took Floristore. And that's all I needed to do. I swear this changed my life. And if you're skeptical, because when you have a condition you've had all your life, you just think that it's part of you. What do you mean I'm not going to have stomach issues? I've literally always had them. It's like saying I'm going to have another foot. What do you mean? So it's almost impossible. Like mental illness is this too. If you're depressed or anxious, what do you mean I'm not going to be anxious? I've always been anxious. That's me. It's part of me. So even the possibility is crazy. And if you didn't have Crohn's, where they take out your pieces of your intestine, that's no joke. If it's working for him, I'm like, all right, this guy's not some hippie. Let me try it. So worst case, you're out $20. Best case, you are fixed or profoundly improved. It's just amazing. Did you find Kristen Reader's portrayal of characters like Jessica Jones and Jane's to be attractive? She's hot, and I bet you can deal with her sarcasm. I don't know who that is off the top of my head. Let me look her up. Now I'm gonna get to this finished story with the Karlovy Vary. Oh, I love her. Oh yeah. I love her. Oh, she's 5'9". Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's exactly my type. Anyway, so one of the things that was there was something called Fabuland, and I've been tweeting about this a little bit. It's a Lego in between Duplo. Duplo's for the kindergartners, where it's huge pieces, and Lego proper. And this is it's basically like what's it called? Something Crossing what's that video game? Crossing video game. Farmland Crossing. Animal Crossing. This was in the late 70s, early 80s. Wait, so you were saying I don't have to live with my autism? Well, you're Canadian, so we got a lot to work with there, Frenchie. And so there was a bunch of these Fabuland sets, and I got the one which I would want the most. And I'm like, let me see what else I get based on how this looks. And it was the ice cream stand, because I'm an ice cream freak. And I think nothing is more adorable than ice cream. And I don't want it to be too Neverland, and pedo. So, because when you have things for kids, it's this is weird. You're a grown man. So let me show you the ice cream stand I got from France yesterday. So, what do we got here? Okay, so this was supposed to be a complete set. It's not. But Lego culture, I didn't realize this. You can buy replacement of any of these items for a penny. You're gonna have to pay for shipping. So some of these pieces are broken. I'm gonna have to get replacements, but I don't care. It's just still cool to have. So this is because the stickers are in good condition. This is the ice cream store, right? And it opens up. And you get the ice cream. I don't know why there's street lights at this ice cream store. And have you ever been tested for SIBO? Okay, let's look this out. Let's figure what this is. Oh no, I thought it was gonna be some acronym for like mentally retarded. No, I have not been tested. I think I have actually, because they sent me to a lot of specialists as a kid and they couldn't figure out what it was. Then it's got the little horse. And notice he came without an arm. So I'm gonna have to get a replacement. They said it was complete. It's got the little scooter with the ice. He sells the ice cream from here. And this is broken off in here because you're supposed to put the umbrella in there, but this is broken off. So I'm going to get a new umbrella. This is the cow. She's sitting. So there's little seats. She has her little ice cream shake, whatever, hot chocolate. And that's the ice cream stand. So this is Fabuland. And I was going to get the amusement park, which has a big Ferris wheel. But my friend's like, it's too big. So I'm just going to get the windmill and also the carousel. And I'm going to have them on top of one of my cabinets. It'll be nice and cool. And it's underneath, I have 2 pieces of children's books art. So it'll be nice and droll. I was diagnosed with food allergies when I was 22. It was like growing a new brain. I have no other way to describe it. Isn't it? It's so life-changing. Quality of life, I'm going to get all Oprah, but it's so true, is such a thing. Like sleep. This is something everyone can understand if you can't understand food issues. If people who suffer with insomnia, and if you don't, just imagine, we hear about these people, you're like, how do you live? Like, you never have a good night's sleep? How are you alive? And imagine what it's like where, like, eating every time, it's going to be like, oh, I feel just uncomfortable. Or, like, it's like as you feel sweaty all the time. It's just like, ugh, I never feel just right. It sucks. It sucks. Your thoughts on Buck's move toward anarchism and my long question and answer. I am not interested in making people anarchists. I am interested in making people red-pilled. And Buck is pretty damn red-pilled. Has the wall art arrived yet? Sebastian, no, it has not. That is going to be, it's going to be right here, probably right behind me. So you'll all see it during the live stream. Sebastian knows I got some cool wall art sculpture coming in the mail. Who knows if it's going to get stuck in the mail like these other packages I have. It's a fucking nightmare. What's going on with these packages? Got some signed books. That's really cool. So yeah, this is it brought me joy. And I really hate, as you guys know, one of the things I really hate and fight about very much is there's so much, and I had to tweet this out. Also, you realize that your brain is a lying Prost. Yeah. Like one of the things I always fight about is this cynical idea that like, oh, this brings you, like if you're mocking someone's happiness or someone's joy, you're a bad person. And there's something wrong with you. And I would suggest, because this is a way you can improve, because some of us are trained to do this, that you're like, wait a minute, why am I doing this? If someone has this jean jacket on and they look like shit, but they're not wearing it outside, and it makes them fun happy because they think they're their older sister or something, applaud them. It's and I'm not a nice person. I slam people all the time, but like that's because I think joy is a very rare and special and precious thing, and I think we could all use a little bit more of it. I relate so much to you in Ego and Hubris. Reread it today for mental health. Well, it's usually rereading it for against mental health, but thank you. It means a lot. Do you like Asian art / preserved animals? I may send me pictures first. Preserved animals, probably not. Asian art, it depends. Like a lot of like the Japanese stuff, the contemporary stuff, I hate. But I don't know. It totally depends. It totally depends. So I'm glad you guys. Yeah, this is what we do these combo streams. Where I hang out with somebody for a bit and then we could just chat. I hate how New York, especially, the art, like art that is joyous is less serious, or like, okay, you're not talking about someone being raped by their dad. It's like that person who's being raped by their dad doesn't want to talk about that. They want to, laugh. They want to have a good meal. They want to have a hug with a friend who loves them, and no beauty. It's really kind of gross to me. And I'm just very kind of lucky that I can have this, where I want to get this. I had it, couldn't get it as a kid. I'm gonna get it now. Although again, it's only $20. Yeah. I guess. Oh, and one more thing. Like I had to get a replacement mouse, which was I found one that's really cool that looks like Twin Peaks, and it also looks like it's new wave. So here it is. It's really cool. Can I ask you why you hate the aesthetics of pastoralism? What do you mean? Oh, let me see. There's a lot of different. There's a lot of meanings. Oh God, do you? Yeah, I feel like it's dead. There's a lifelessness to it. There's a stillness to it. When I think of nature, I'm a big nature buff. I think of like exotic shapes and colors, and pastoralism is like a black and white television version of nature to me. And I hate this kind of aw shucks stuff. Unless you're going to go full blown rural. Like I have a barbed wire bathroom mat. And I feel like a lot of it is this very hokey corporate pastoralism. I feel like they're just trying to sell things to people in suburban Illinois, and there's a soullessness to it. And also, I got to tell you, as someone who's a hardcore urbanite, it doesn't speak to me on a spiritual level, so it's not for me. Prospera. I don't know, Sebastian. What does that mean? Is this some kind of secret code that children know? What is this? I don't know. What are you telling me? What is he telling me? Can I pay to get my new right copy signed? No. I'll have signed copies soon. Don't. Get a copy of Dear Reader if you like. Okay, I guess I'm going to, if that's everything, I'm going to Trey Honduras. Oh, duh. I forgot that's what it's called. I'll have him on to talk about it. I'll ask him how to, he wants me to promote it. That's my boy. That's who was texting me earlier. Yeah. Whew. Yeah, I guess that's it. I will. Please join us on Locals. Let me tell you how many people we have there, and it's free. We have. It's so much, to me, it's a lot better than Facebook, which I've now left. Community admin. We have 3,700 members. So it's great. There's plenty of people there. I think we're all having a lot of fun. Similar to toys you're buying from your childhood, I got to buy all those toys that had, oh my God, as a kid for my youngest brother, it was so much fun. Zach, that is so great. That is so great. I hope you get Kotkin on your welcome. Who's Kotkin? Oh, the Stalin guy. Oh God, I would love that. That's a no-brainer. I can't wait to have Arthur Herman on one of these. It's going to be the bee's knees. Corporations are statist institutions, and some states are corporations. Google SIC 8888. I don't know about 88. I know what that means. You're not going to bamboozle me. I fell for that trick. Yeah, we'll have Corey on, I think, next. Corey DeAngelis. 1 second. Okay, I'm going to. Kotkin would be a great guest. I've got a lot of great guests queued up. I just want this to go back to normal. I don't like these interviews over this. It's so much fun having that energy in the room. I gotta go. I'm gonna hit up Rogan to go out to LA. I thought flights would be super cheap, but they're not. And that would be fun to do because he just had Bridget on. Who, if you're not part of Bridget's Locals, Bridget Fedesi does what I do, like orders of magnitude better in terms of mental health, in terms of building a community, in terms of being a good person. I think she can walk on water as far as I'm concerned. There's very few people who I've met, and the more I know them, the more impressed I am with them. And she's one of them. Like, Could not give her a higher endorsement. And a mensch. Corey's cover of Harvard Anti-Choice for School. Yeah, Corey's amazing. It's such a mutual admiration society. Before you go, Tulsi did a video on Insta talking about removing elements of the Patriot Act. Tulsi is like that toxic ex you keep going back to because the naughty is so hot. Yeah, I've talked about Tulsi a bit with Dave Smith on his show. I think it was on his show. I still have this fucking hair because of her. Oh, I just got this cool new blazer, and I'm not gonna be able to wear it for months. But it's hanging in my living room next to my Tulsi suit, which I never put in the closet since I've been back from Reuben. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, I gotta tell you, like, one of my favorite movies, which as I've gotten older and more successful, does not resonate with me as much, was Amelie. And there's this, oh man, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. That was weird. Ooh, it really got me right in the feels. There's this scene where basically some older man, through circumstances, she gets him to find the box that he hid as a kid. She found it and she figured out who it was, and she just basically like dropped it in front of him, like secretly. And him looking around to find this box and looking through these old like soccer cards, and just like all of a sudden he was like 5 years old again. Like, if you're feeling bad, go on eBay, get that thing, that book, that toy, that show that meant something to you, that brought you joy as a child, which is a pure joy. And you'll go and you'll look at it and you'll be like, you know what? It's not as bad as it feels. Like, I've had happiness before and I could have it again. And this was a goal I set for myself to acquire this. I just acquired it again. And I'll look at it and I'll be like, you know what? Things aren't as bad as that. So that's it. Maybe it'll work for you. Maybe not. But that's just my suggestion. It works for me. Okay. I am going to go finish reading this book about the Vatican. They're gay. And Arthur Herman. I will do this again soon. We got You're Welcome on Tuesday. We got Nightshade tomorrow. I'm glad there's so many of you here. I hope this is fun for you. It seems like it is. So I think the next stream is not going to be with the guest. It's just going to be me trying all these cereals. And I'm going to you'll see how many boxes I have. It's literally 50. And I'll talk to you guys soon. And I hope you are all not giving in to the dark times. And this is giving you a bit of a sense of community. Just doing what I can. Okay, talk soon, guys. See you later this week. We'll do the cereal.